Welcome, everybody, to Warriors Quest. It's a great evening tonight. I'm your host, Jared Brown. I'm the host with the most, Kidney Warriors, and I'm excited to bring on a couple guests tonight. These guests, they've got some great stories. In fact, one I've rubbed shoulders with online, periodically in the last 6 months, and I'm excited to have him on the show to kind of tell his story. So, man, at Warriors Quest, we're live again, and I'm excited to get this going. It's another time where we come together united and we have Warriors share this message and we help people find a kidney donor. What a better thing to do, right? So, you know what? The guest, I've got a great co host that's going to be joining us. His name is Adrian Miller. He's got a great story. And I'm very thrilled to have him on the show tonight as a guest on Warriors Quest. Welcome to the show, Adrian.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here, man.
Thank you.
It's an honor.
Now,
Thank.
yeah, thanks for stopping by on Warriors Quest. We're welcome to have you. A warrior yourself. You're a kidney transplant recipient.
Yes, I am indeed. September 6th.
Then very nice, very nice.
It's the second birthday to me.
Is it? It's your second birthday. They're very nice. And some warriors actually, they name their kidney. Is that anything that you've done?
Yeah, I named because I'm a huge Yankee fan. So my kidney's name is Mariano after Mariano Rivera.
Okay, right on. Very nice. Well, you hit a home run with that one, so that's nice. Well, Adrian, would you tell us kind of your story about how you found out you had kidney disease, kind of what happened that led to you having kidney disease, and kind of give us a background story. Every hero has an origin story, and I'm sure you have one as well.
Absolutely. So my story begins late 2011. I had been losing all kinds of weight. I wasn't working out. I wasn't doing anything about it. And at the time, I thought, man, this is pretty neat. I'm losing all
This
this
is
weight. And I'm
great.
not doing anything. But my ankles and my fingers would swell so bad, and then they would go down. So I still didn't think anything of it. I was in denial. Well, come Super Bowl, February 5th comes that Super Bowl Monday. I was so sick, and and to be real candid with you, I thought I was just hungover.
Okay,
But
sure.
you know what I mean. And so
Right.
I start throwing up, and the first time I didn't think anything of it, well, I kept throwing up, and now it was getting serious. I remember I told my sister, I said, I think you need to drop me off at emergency. So I get dropped off at emergency. They do the blood work. All of a sudden, I have a nephrologist outside of my door. She comes in and just no hi, no nothing, saying we need to take you to dialysis today. And I was like, whoa, whoa,
Wow.
whoa, what's going on? We're not taking me anywhere. I didn't even know what dialysis was. I
Uh
honestly
huh.
didn't. I had no
Sure.
clue. And so, I was kind of combative with her, and I'll never forgive myself that because that's not how I am. But when you start coming at me like that, so she sat me down and talked to me. She said, whether you like it or not, this is your blood work. I'm a nephrologist. I'm telling you right now, you're basically toxic. And that kind of hit
Wow.
home. So I said, okay, well, I need to call my family. I need to let them know
Yeah.
what's going on. So he took me into dialysis that day. And it was so busy in my area, dialysis wise, they kept me there for 12 days because there was no chairs available.
Are you kidding me?
No, I'm not kidding. And so I had to stay in the hospital for
Uh
these
huh.
because I had to dialyze in the hospital.
Yeah.
I had the catheter down in my chest, and I honestly thought, I said, this is where it all ends. This is,
Okay.
and luckily, my child, I have a 24-year-old daughter. She
Mm-hmm.
basically saved my life. She said, this is what you're going to do to me, towel. And it kind of hit home, and something came over me. I said, no, honey, I'm not. I joined the gym while those tubes were in my chest. And I would walk, you know, I'd be able to make it 5 minutes, then 10 minutes, but I kept walking and walking. Then I got a job at the same gym. And,
Wow.
and I incorporated health and wellness and fitness into my dialysis. And I believe it actually saved my life, because while I was on dialysis those years, I did have a minor stroke, and I did go into cardiac arrest because of what I was doing. The stroke. So it's the middle of the winter. I'll be brief here, but it's the middle of the winter. I walk into my dialysis unit with flip flops, shorts, and a t-shirt on, and the nurse. I didn't even know who I was, where I was. I couldn't tell you my name, my date of birth.
Wow.
And the nurse caught it, and then now the side of my face is drooping, and she goes, "Oh
She's
gosh, yes, we got
she's
to get you to the
seeing this.
hospital." Yeah, she saw it, so they laid me back in the chair, and she goes, "We got to get you to the hospital." And so I was in the hospital that time for 10 days, because they wouldn't release me until my motor skills had came back. But
Uh-huh.
what happened is the blood was rushing to my brain, and the vessels were popping. It's considered a stroke, but it's not considered a major stroke. And to this day, I still have some issues, motor skills wise, but I try to make do with the best I can. And now that I have my transplant, I just started work full time at Providence
Uh-huh.
Medical out here in Vancouver. So
Very cool.
third day of training today. It was
Wow.
tough.
Wow, what a story though, Adrian. Honestly, wow.
it,
So,
it it's been
man,
a whirlwind, man.
yeah, that's
And I
incredible.
about 4 years in is when I started my advocacy work,
Uh-huh.
and I decided I was going to make that part of my life. I wanted to help others. I was healthy enough, and I kept care of myself enough to be able to be a voice for those that don't have one. And so I
Yeah,
do go over the country, all over the country, fighting for them. So
sweet.
yeah, that's about the gist of it.
That's about the gist of it. Well, I love that. That's awesome.
Appreciate that.
And that's kind of, that's kind of how what we've interacted is we both kind of advocate for people, and that's how we've interacted online. And one of the things that I've seen online is that you're still trying to stay pretty healthy and fit. Is that what do you do to kind of stay in shape? Can you hear me okay, Adrian?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Now, basically, it seems to me as though you stay pretty fit and you still stay to some sort of, fitness regimen. Is that right?
I do. I always feel like if I don't go to the gym and make my body as healthy as it can, that I'm missing out, and I feel guilty. And the best thing I did was 7 years ago is I quit drinking, and
Okay.
I thank my family and all the support I had every day for that one.
Very nice. Okay. So, some things that are sticking out to me is that, number one is that, when you were going through your period of time where you were going to dialysis, you're going to the gym, it seemed like that helped you kind of stay grounded. It kept you going forward.
It sure did. You just hit the nail right on the head right there.
Very nice. So I love that. I do. So especially when someone's going through some sort of chronic illness, it's very important to find something that's going to help you move forward the best you can. And I love that you drew that, or that was drawn to you, and that you were able to grasp it and have that be an advantage for you.
Yeah, I actually had a couple people from my unit join the gym, and I always think if I could help one person, then my day it wasn't a waste. And so I
Okay,
had
sure.
them
I
join.
love that.
Yeah,
Very
it's
nice.
just, and I always advocate for health and wellness.
Sweet. Very nice. And what with you having dialysis or kidney transplant surgery just last December, is that right?
Oh, I'm gonna blink again.
Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay, Adrian? Can you hear me okay, Adrian? Hello? Can you hear me okay, Adrian?
Uh-oh.
Hello, Adrian? All right. So what I'm going to be doing is we've got a little bit of a disconnect right here. We'll bring Adrian back on as soon as we're able to have him.
I'm here.
Can you hear me okay now? Adrian?
Lost
Hello?
you again.
Okay, we're going to bring Adrian back in. I'm very confident. Hello?
I'm here again.
Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay. All right, Adrian. So what we'll do right now is we're going to bring in our guest for the night. We're going to bring her on, and then you and I will be able to hear her story. And then I'd love to have your input, your feedback, have you ask questions that you feel are needed or pointed. And then we can really help other warriors that are listening tonight so that we can help them feel motivated, so that we can lift them up, as well as help Tess. And that's who I want to kind of introduce tonight is Tess Oriana. She's from Colorado, which is near and dear to my heart. I was born in Denver, Colorado. And so I'm very pleased to introduce Tess. She's a kidney warrior right now, and she has a very, very interesting story, and I'm glad to have her on. Welcome to Warriors Quest, Tess.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. I'm so glad we got to connect. I appreciate you inviting me.
You're very welcome. I'm excited to have you on because your story is very unique. When I read about your story, and then when you told me a little bit more about it, I don't know that I've ever heard anything like this before. And so, you're from. Are you still in Colorado Springs, or where are you at right now?
Right now, I'm actually in Montrose visiting my mom.
All right, right on. Yeah.
I came down last Thursday for Mother's Day. We've had an awesome trip. I go home tomorrow. Back to
all right, very nice.
So.
Well, I hope that your mother had a good Mother's Day.
She did. We did. Yeah, we went on a hike and to lunch, and then we saw a movie. It was a good day.
Good. Yeah, there's some wonderful, terrain in Colorado. I love the outdoors myself, and I don't know if you've ever been to like Steamboat Springs or if you go to the Red Rock Amphitheater very much, but beautiful scenery over there. I could talk for hours about that stuff.
Yeah, it is beautiful here. I love it. I'm so proud to be from Colorado.
Me too. So, I'd like to have you kind of, tell us a little bit about your story about how you found out how you have kidney disease. Because again, this is a very unique story, everyone. And I'd like to have you tell it if you would, Tess, because I've never heard anything like this before.
Yeah, I had a lot of very, very weird symptoms. So in February or March of last year, I actually started hearing birds. I was living in downtown Denver at the time, and it was spring. So I often left my windows open, and I thought that maybe the birds were just really loud that year, or that it was my hearing loss that I'd always had manifesting differently than normal. But then I started to hear these birds in the shower and in the parking garage, and they would get so loud that it was like being in an aviary. And I'd hear them in other places that, people wouldn't normally be prone to hearing something like that. So that was very strange. I didn't have insurance during a lot of this time either, so it was hard for me to go see a doctor. So then shortly after the birds started, I started feeling like maybe I burned my tongue or I ate too much acidic food. That progressed over the next several months into what I thought was one of the worst cases of acid reflux ever experienced. I had all the symptoms, including the hiccups, heartburn, a metallic taste in my mouth, and my tongue actually turned almost completely white. At one point, I could literally tear pieces off the side.
Wow. Well, now, never had, having never experienced this before, what was going through your mind at this point? What's going through your head and what are your emotions?
I don't really remember, but a lot of it I think was like this is so weird. What's going on? Ouch, this hurts. And this must be acid reflux. But eventually I went to the dentist, and even he and his staff were perplexed by it. They had no idea what it could be. And they were going to send me to a head and neck specialist at UC Health. But long story short, that specialist didn't take people without insurance, so I couldn't go.
Okay.
But I don't think they would have even known, really. So then around April, I began feeling the most painful muscle cramps you could ever imagine. That actually is pretty typical with CKD now that I know that. They started in my feet. They moved up my legs. My hamstrings got the worst of it. They'd literally wake me up from sleep. And I slept through like 3 earthquakes in my lifetime, so I'm a pretty deep sleeper.
Right,
So
okay.
that they would wake me up.
Uh-huh.
I remember coming to visit friends in Colorado Springs one weekend and waking up in the hotel in so much pain. I was actually almost in tears.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
They had a banana because they knew potassium could help with cramps. They had normal people, not people with kidney disease, and ice. And fortunately, they did, but the ice didn't help hardly at all. So following that trip, the cramps moved up to my hands. They were so bad that I couldn't hold a toothbrush.
Cramps in your hands.
Yeah, it was awful. I looked so deformed. Like my hands would not hold a toothbrush like they're supposed to.
Wow.
I thought it was like early onset arthritis or something.
Sure.
And then they moved to my shoulders and then back to my knees. You ever had a knee cramp? It's awful.
Yes. Yes. I mean, I've had cramps in my legs, calves. I've had them in many places like that. I don't know. I've never thought that I'd ever have like cramps in my hands.
Right.
I mean,
Jess,
at that point, that would really, really be something scary.
Yeah, it was.
I can hear you, Adrian. Can you hear me?
Thanks.
Oh, I think we might have lost him again.
Can you hear me okay, though?
Yeah, I can hear you, Adrian. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, we'll get him back again, Tess. So,
Okay.
So you've, you're experiencing these cramps, and then would you continue with the rest of your story as well?
Yeah. So in May or so, I started experiencing what felt like cold flashes. At least that's what I associated them to be. I felt like I had gotten the goosebumps from head to toe, except I wasn't actually cold. I could stand in a hot shower in front of a heat source or be bundled up, and it still wasn't warm enough. I'd always been cold, but this was like a different kind of cold. It was the kind that you couldn't fix. But as it turns out, I wasn't cold at all. I was actually experiencing numbness and tingling from head to toe.
Gotcha. Wow.
If I reached for something, it always felt like I reached too far. It was like that numbness and tingling in my hands and fingers. Random parts of my body started to hurt. It felt like I fractured my elbow and like I might have pinched a nerve in my wrist. I started feeling faint often, and I actually almost fainted 6 times in 3 days.
Wow.
And I've never had any of these issues before. It was so strange. Thankfully, all 6 times I made it to a better couch in time. I have concrete floors at my apartment then, and so it could have been a disaster if I had actually fainted.
So Tess, I've got a quick question because I want to kind of understand a little bit the time. So in the time that you started, hearing the birds and then the cramping, and now with what you're telling me now, what kind of time frame is that? Is it a matter of 3 days, 4 days, or a week?
No, it's more like several months. Yeah,
Okay.
from like February to May.
Gotcha. Okay, so these things are just kind of piling up, and you're feeling worse. Okay.
Pretty much. I didn't have any energy. I would spend often days, full days almost in bed, And then finally, when I had the energy to get up, I wouldn't be able to go very far. I'd go like out to the couch, or I'd try to make some food. I would run like an errand or two, but I'd be exhausted the whole time. It would take me all my energy to do that.
Wow.
Everything felt like really itchy. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Drinking cold water made that a lot worse. And then the weirdest part of all my symptoms, about a week before I found myself in the hospital, I woke up hearing sirens. And mind you, I still lived in downtown Denver at the time, so hearing sirens was not abnormal.
Right.
But in this case, I was 2 minutes from the nearest hospital too, so it was extremely not abnormal. But in this case, though, I was hearing them close to once a minute, and they all kind of followed the same pattern. So I knew something was wrong. I realized there was either an epic apocalypse happening outside, or something was very, very wrong upstairs.
Yes. Those are things that would be going through my mind too. You know, at 1 minute interval, you're saying.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I still couldn't see a doctor because I didn't have insurance or income. So the next day I woke up and I was hearing a whole melody of sounds. I was hearing the sirens. I was hearing car alarms, fire alarms, alarm clocks, video game music, and what sounded kind of like club music.
No.
No, it was so strange. They were completely involuntary. They continued 24/7 without any reprieve. Nothing in particular would quiet them down or make them louder. They just kind of did that on their own. Sometimes, honestly, I would sit on the couch and just be fascinated by the fact that my brain could produce these sounds. It was so strange.
That is strangely fascinating, actually.
Yeah, but little did I know it wasn't good. So I knew it wasn't normal, obviously, but I was just fascinated by the whole thing. So I thought that they were caused from stress and anxiety, but they never really seemed to go away. I thought one day I'd wake up and they'd be gone, and that never really happened. But instead, they got worse. So one night, in the middle of the night, I woke up to them so loud they actually felt like they were going to just leave my head and take up the whole room.
Wow.
This was after I had taken one sleeping pill, which should have knocked me out for the entire night and then some. And I woke up like 3 hours after I took that pill. So it was obviously not enough.
Not doing enough. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
I
woke up, went out to the couch, took another sleeping pill, tried to fall back asleep. Still woke up like 5:30 the next day. Looked into Medicaid. And let me actually back up a little bit. I also had restless hand syndrome that night. So like, not keep my hands still. It's like restless leg syndrome, but in your hands. It's so strange.
Yes. My wife has restless leg syndrome, so I'm a little bit familiar with. You know, I can relate to that just a little bit. By proxy.
Right, and it wasn't anything again that I'd experienced before, so it was all very weird. And pretty scary. And then
very scary.
Yeah, so I woke up, I went out to the couch, took another sleeping pill, tried to fall back to sleep, woke up at 5:30. And then called Medicaid when I woke up. Well, I looked into it a little bit, I made sure that I qualified, and then I called. Got approved right away. Then I contacted the Colorado Crisis Line. We're lucky enough out here that we have our own crisis line, and we have a text number that we can write into in case we don't feel like calling.
Okay.
So I did. And the lady on the other end said, this doesn't sound like stress and anxiety. This sounds more like a medical issue. I think you should call the Denver Health Nurse Line and see what they say. So I did. And the nurse on that end of the line was like, yeah, you better get in and see somebody right away. This doesn't sound normal, and it sounds really severe.
Yes. Wow.
So I packed a couple bags knowing I'd probably be at the hospital for a while, and drove myself 10 minutes down the road to the hospital, all while these sounds were still going on. Parked in the parking garage, walked about a quarter of a mile to the ER.
And you're still hearing all the sirens, the melodies or whatever you're talking about.
Yeah.
All the while.
Away for probably close to a month or a month and a half, actually.
That is just the craziest thing I've ever heard. That has got to make you just extremely frustrated. It's got to, wow. That is just.
The doctors said the same exact thing. They were like, that is so strange. We've never heard that before. But anyway, so I walked into the ER. Thankfully, I caught it at a good time. There was nobody ahead of me. I told the triage nurse what was going on. All the symptoms that I listed, her jaw dropped further and further to the ground. And she took me right back to see the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor came in almost immediately, did a whole assessment, asked me a lot of questions, ran a battery of tests, including X-ray, CT scan, blood work, urinalysis. And then following the tests, meanwhile, I'm having, panic attack after panic attack. I waited for what felt like hours. I was also by myself this whole time.
Okay.
Because I lived alone. I didn't know a whole lot of people up in Denver. And she came back and told me, yeah, you're really sick. Your kidneys are failing. Oh, by the way, you need a transfusion because your hemoglobin should be at least 10 and you're in the 5s.
Oh, wow. Out of 5.
Yeah, I had my first transfusion in the ER, the second one in the medical ICU that night. When I got up to the ICU, that one of the nurses said, yeah, we think, I'm surprised that you're not on a ventilator because your numbers are so terrible. So I was like, yeah, she's saying.
That is shocking.
Yeah. And then they ran more tests. They did a sonogram. They found out that my kidneys, so your kidneys are supposed to be the size of your fist, right? About that big. 6 centimeters. They're about that big.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They're very tiny. They're functioning at 4%.
4%.
Yeah. And miraculously, all my life, I never knew that I had kidney problems. Even though I did, I found out later. I just compensated that whole time until my body couldn't compensate anymore. So I stayed in the hospital a week and a half. In that time, I had 3 catheter surgeries. The first 2 kept clotting. So I had to have a third one. Finally, that one worked. And then I also 6 dialysis treatments almost immediately after the first one. And that one was even 2 hours or 3 hours, something like that. A lot of my symptoms went away.
Okay. All right.
Wow.
Adrian, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Have you ever heard of anything like this before?
No, I wanted to interject because I've heard 1,000 kidney stories and I've never heard in my life something like this. It's absolutely nuts. I feel so bad for you going through that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was rough at the time, honestly, and I was scared the first couple nights in the hospital. But after that, I was actually maybe one of the happiest hospital patients that you ever seen because I was glad to be there. I was glad to be alive and in good hands and knowing that I was getting treated and that things would be okay.
Did you start feeling better right away after your?
I don't know about right away. A lot of the symptoms did go away, but they didn't necessarily make me feel bad.
You're right.
They were annoying, but it's not like I felt like crap because of a lot of those symptoms. But yeah, I eventually ended up transitioning out of the hospital onto in-clinic chemo for 2 months, and then onto PD, peritoneal dialysis, which I'm sure you guys are familiar with. And so I've been on that ever since. And that really has been a game changer for me. I have so much more energy generally. And I feel so much better. So.
Plus you have your freedom.
Yeah, that too. I didn't mind chemo, again, because I knew that I was in good hands. It was a good excuse to just sit back and relax and do whatever I wanted for those 4 hours. And I love the staff. They were so nice
Great.
and helpful. So
Very nice. So you had good people then. I like that. That's not always the case.
right. Yeah. So I got really lucky. Overall, out of all the nurses and the doctors that I had, there was maybe one person that I didn't like. And it was only because that nurse was all business, not because she was a bad person or anything. It's not like she was intentionally rude. But yeah, I've been really lucky. I've had a lot of really good support from my friends, my family, and then even people on my Operation Kidney page. I have over 1,200 followers at this point, almost 1,250, and they're all so supportive. So, and I don't even know most of them.
That's the great thing about technology, isn't it, Adrian?
It is. I use it sometimes too much.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a wonderful thing that way.
Yeah, my daughter actually reminds me all the time, Dad, you got to quit.
But the powerful thing is that it can reach so many people. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's done it for me. I mean, so Tess, you use a lot of social media.
I am only really on Facebook. I did restart an Instagram account, but I don't use it that often. So I've kind of gotten out of the habit. I'm not a huge social media person, but I am super addicted to Facebook. It's awful. But it has helped a lot in getting my story out. In fact, Operation Kidney has been so successful that the page went viral almost overnight. I had one photo shared 11,000 times. 400,000 people saw it.
What?
No.
One photo 11,000 times?
I know, and I'm not usually like that either. Like I have maybe a few people like something, and that's it. So I was shocked.
What happened with this photo that made it go just nuts and viral?
Yeah, well, so I actually kind of got the idea of starting a page for a donor when I saw one of my friends who I've known forever post a photo of somebody that they didn't know back in, I think, Ohio, this lady lives, and she's also looking for a kidney donor. And she had just a couple photos and just a quick description of what she needed, what she was looking for, who she is as a person, that kind of thing. And so I reached out to her page and I was like, hey, I'm also in the same boat, looking for a donor, wanted to connect, that kind of thing. And then kind of out of the blue and not knowing it, her best friend messaged me and was like, yeah, we really suggest starting a page and advertising as much as you can and blah, blah, blah. And this is what we did. We did that little snapshot thing with her photos and then the quick description. We highly recommend you do that. By that point, that page had already had 13,000 followers on it. And so, yeah, I was like, would you mind, if I do that, would you mind sharing it on your page? And they said, yeah, of course. So that's kind of what started it. And then I started asking other groups that I was part of and saying, even if it isn't anything to do with it, I follow a dog group that has 215,000 followers.
Gotcha.
And so I asked the admin, would it be okay to post this here? And they said, well, after some deliberation, yeah, you can. We'd be thrilled if it helped you find your match. And then that got shared a ton of times, probably 800 times.
Very cool.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. So it was just a matter of networking, really. So 400,000 people saw that photo between everybody who shared it and all their connections. 400.
That,
Yep.
that is just
That's
wow.
insane.
I am just impressed. I
Yeah.
am. That is amazing that
Yeah.
that you were able to reach so many people. And if I understand right, so far, okay, this isn't boosting, right? This is organic.
Well, some of it was.
All right, all right,
I did post a few ads on my own.
okay.
And those got some people, and then I started networking, and it was like through the roof. Um, the good thing that came out of that was that there were 50 to 100 people that actually volunteered to donate just for me.
Wow.
That's
And
incredible.
yeah,
It
and
is.
so
It
the
is.
transplant team asked me to stop sending people to get tested because they were overwhelmed with the money they had. And they can only test, of course, three or four at a time.
I guess if there's a good problem, that's a good problem, right?
It is, yeah. So that was really exciting. And then I just found out recently that one of my potential donors was bumped to the top of the list for the actual testing phase. And then she wrote back to me and she was like,
I'm so happy
yeah,
for you. That's so awesome.
Very nice.
I've been moved to the evaluation phase, which means I'm coming out to Colorado to meet the team and finish testing.
Very
And
cool. Wow.
it's the last step in the process, unless she has to send other things to them. So there's a really good chance that I could have a kidney by like July.
That is so awesome.
Yeah.
Tess, you really need to start coaching all different kidney patients throughout the country. You honestly do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I've been trying to help people too by posting like one person a day on my page. And that way it still helps people, but it doesn't detract from what I'm trying to do. Doesn't overwhelm speeds, that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
but I want to turn Operation Kidney into a foundation so that I can actually really truly work on helping other people that need kidneys. And also I'd love to help other people that need like heart transplants and things like that. So what I'm doing right now, my big goal is to raise money to not only help my potential donors get out to Colorado. A lot of them are young and they're college students. They can't afford a trip like that. So I'd like to raise money to get their travel and lodging costs 100% covered. I'd also like to, there's somebody that I don't know her personally, but I have a friend who knows her, who needs a heart transplant. They found out giving birth that she needs a heart transplant. So I'd like to donate to her medical fund. And then the rest of it I want to use to turn Operation Kidney into a foundation.
Do you have a link where your fundraiser page is yet?
Yep, it's GoFundMe. So it's www.gofundme.com/Operation Kidney Foundation. And so far we've raised, I did a Facebook fundraiser as well, not raised actually more than GoFundMe, but altogether we raised over $1,000 at this point. My goal is 5,000.
Good for you.
Very good.
It's GoFundMe. Is it / or / Operation Kidney?
Or
I'm gonna look for it. I'm gonna look for it right away, and I'll donate to it.
Yeah, it's / I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Adrian.
Yeah, that's awesome. I will donate so look for that.
Awesome.
Very cool.
Thanks.
Yeah. So Adrian, also I've given that link that she's talking about to Steve, so he'll probably be posting it as well.
Oh, okay. Steve will send it to me then. I appreciate that. Good. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, and like you said, Adrian, it's been a whirlwind, but honestly, I wouldn't change it for the world. It's been a blessing in disguise. So.
I'm so happy for you. That is awesome that you said that, because I feel the same way. I always tell people in a weird sense, having kidney failure saved my life. So
yeah,
I don't know if that makes sense, but it does to me.
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Let me ask you this: how are you with your diet? What kind of I know it's less restrictive on PED.
Yeah, it is. I still have to be careful of salt. But am lucky. I've never been one to have high blood pressure. I don't swell. I never had any of the symptoms that are typical with CKD.
Okay.
And I have always been a skinny mini too. So salt is
Binders?
yeah.
Okay.
They're the horse pills. They're awful. And I take 4 with every meal.
So you're taking about 12.
Yeah, more or less, and then a couple with snacks too.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that I take 16 pills a day right now.
You get used to taking those pills because once you get your transplants, you're going to be taking pills.
I know, but at least it's not as many as I understand it.
No, it'd be worth it too. Every bit of it.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't really mind any of it, to be honest with you.
Right, yeah.
Like you said, it saved my life. It's like a second birthday getting a transplant. I was always tired growing up, even as a kid.
Right.
And so having even dialysis has really helped. I have, like I said, so much more energy. Once I have a transplant, I am hopeful to be able to go hiking more often and
That's awesome.
not too exhausted by doing the simple tasks. So
Tess,
no
I've got a
food
quick question
restrictions
for
either.
you. And this could be and you could help out and answer this question too, Adrian. So when because you've done both hemodialysis and peritoneal, what's the difference in regards to how you feel when you compare the two?
For me, I was always really tired after hemo.
Okay.
Mostly. It's a lot harder on the body because it takes the blood directly out of the system and puts it back in. And I think that's what makes it more difficult.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
That's so true. Yeah.
yeah. PD, there are days that I don't have energy. There are days that I still feel like that. PD isn't going to make my kidneys function at 100% either. So that's to be expected.
But I think it is encouraging though to hear you say that you feel better after dialysis. That's encouraging for people to hear.
Yeah, I do feel a lot better generally speaking on PD.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I haven't been hiking, probably in like 2 years or something. And we went on a hike, my mom and I, while I was here in Montrose visiting her the other day for Mother's Day, and I was leading the way. I was
that's even better.
I mean,
very good, very nice.
We still had to take breaks and stop and get water, and it was awfully hot out that day too. So
good for you.
But yeah, we did it, and I didn't feel sore the next day. I wasn't exhausted the next day. So
very cool.
Tess, I think you could be a champion for talking to people who don't want to share their stories. Because I was one of them that didn't want to share my story. I was real quiet, and it took a lot of people to break my shell. And now I won't shut up, but I honestly believe that you would be a heck of a coach in talking to these people and how things are done. I honestly
definitely think so.
It's something you should think of.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would love to be able to help. I'm actually a peer specialist by training. Sure. Which means that I can use my own personal experience to help other people through whatever they're going to. That training specifically was for mental health, but mental health has a lot to do with physical health as well.
It does.
I feel like I could
so right about that.
I totally agree wholeheartedly.
Can I ask you one more question? Do you still at times ever get like down? Or are you always upbeat like this? Because I would be really upbeat and really energetic, and then there's times I'm like, I don't think this is ever going to happen, and I'd get down on myself. Do you feel yourself ever doing that?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, I'm human too. I still have
sure. I like that.
Worries or not. But for the most part, I try to be happy about it. I try to look on the bright side at least. I feel like if you don't, the only other option is not a very good one. And I don't really want to, I'm 27. I don't want to end up, depressed and sad and in bed all day because I'm upset about what, the lemons life has given me. I'm going to turn those lemons into lemonade.
Lemonade.
Very
nice.
That is so awesome. That is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It really
so,
is.
Adrian posed a really good question. And when he was kind of sharing his story, what I liked about his story is that Adrian found something that helped him move forward. For him, it was the gym, going to the gym, and I talked to other people, and sometimes it's a combination of things, it's this and this together. Sometimes it's family, for other people, it's their faith. Tess, for you, what would you say was either the main thing or something that really made an impact on you that helped you on through the whole thing or through your down days at least?
That's a really good question. I think just the fact that I have goals and I have dreams and I have, things that I want to do. I'm really driven, if you can't tell.
Yeah.
So
I love that though.
I want to be able to help people, really. That's what it comes down to. So I'm back to school for phlebotomy.
Nice.
And I'm through the first semester now, getting ready to start the second one. Loving it 100%. Can't wait to start working in the hospital, hopefully on the renal floor a lot and helping people.
That would be nice.
Going to be cannulating people, huh?
Yeah, well, no, not that, but drawing blood in the hospital.
Drawing blood.
Yeah, that was the one thing that saved me. I mean, I hated needles growing up.
Blood.
Yeah, drawing blood and preparing it for the lab. That's what we do. So, I hated needles growing up. My stepmom could tell you a story about how I was in the hospital one time with mono and supposed to be getting steroids through an IV and did not want the nurse to start that IV at all. But going into the hospital in June last year changed all that for me. Obviously, I had no choice. And had I not gotten my blood drawn at the very beginning, I never would have known what was wrong. And we would have had a harder time figuring it out.
Changed your life.
Yeah, it did. It really did. I mean, had I not gone into the hospital in June when I did, I probably would not be around for even a week longer. And I'm 27.
Wow, that's awesome.
So yeah.
Such an incredible story.
It is. It is an incredible story, and and it's such a unique story too. And there are several things that that kind of resonated with me when I read your story and when you and I were talking. And I'm glad that you've come on the show because it does bring so much encouragement for so many other kidney warriors. I mean, to hear your story, where literally is one of the most unique auto stories that I think I've ever heard, and it sounds like Adrian's never heard anything like that before, and then to hear about what you're doing after the fact, after you had found out that you had kidney disease. Sure, I'm not saying everything's gone swimmingly. You probably have had some down days here and there, but that's natural. But what you've done to kind of, to have goals, these distinct goals, and then how you networked to kind of help yourself instead of being someone who found a way to have pity, which can be easy. And I'm not saying I'm not faulting anybody out there, but there are many kidney warriors that do have, that will have problems with depression, anxiety, and some other issues. And those are natural things.
Right.
And those are not anything to be ashamed of for people that have those feelings, nothing at all. But it's so impressive to me to hear your story and what you've done. It's
Thank you.
kudos, really accolades, mad props. I'm trying to think of some other things to say.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, I've always been the kind of person who has kind of an upbeat attitude, who's really resilient. I've been through a lot and I've gotten through it all with flying colors, and this is no different. So.
Well, it's a great story, and I want to echo Adrian's statement. I think you would be a great champion, and Adrian, he and I, we do advocate for others that are looking for kidney donors, and I think that whatever you do, I think you're certainly someone who has goals. You come across to me as somebody who's going to be very very competitive about whatever goal you set.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is, but I strongly think, I honestly do, I think that you'd be a great advocate, and I think that you would be someone who could really, encourage people, motivate people, inspire people, and so I do. It is. It's exactly, Adrian. It's a very inspiring story, and I think that you've got the personality. You're very good on camera, and I think that you'd be great at continuing to do something, to advocate and to help other people.
Thank you. Yeah, that's one of the goals for sure.
Well, I hope that your foundation, I hope that your foundation continues to grow and that you're able to build that. It sounds like it's a good aspiration for you.
Thank you.
It's awesome. Awesome story. You made my day by telling it. You honestly did.
It is.
Thank you. I loved hearing yours too, and I'm so glad that you're doing so much better. I really hope that kidney continues to work for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You're talking to me, right? Because I hope my kidney does.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, you know what? It's been an inspiring night, but where we've heard some great stories. Adrian, you've got a great, unique story, and I appreciate you coming on. It's been awesome to have you co-host, and you and I have chit-chatted online before, interacted, messaged back and forth, and it's been great having you on. I hope to continue and maybe rub shoulders with you more.
Absolutely, man. I'm here anytime you guys want.
Great. Awesome.
You guys have a good night. I'm going to go eat dinner.
All right. Thanks again, Adrian.
Can I say one more thing to both of you guys?
Sure.
Please don't take this personal. Go Blazers.
Very nice.
I'll see you guys.
All right. Thanks, Adrian. So, Tess, I want to say thank you again personally to you because, the idea of kidney, for Kidney Warriors to hear your story, that's the whole premise for Warriors Quest. And I want to say thank you because that's what's happening tonight is bringing you on is helping other kidney warriors see someone who's had your struggle and you're making the best out of it, whatever it, and that's the premise. And thank you for allowing me to hear your story and for countless others to hear your story tonight too.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's really my honor to be on here, telling my story and sharing it with people. And I really do hope that it helps somebody. Even if it helps one person, I'll be happy. But I really appreciate you inviting me on here, and I'm so glad we got to connect.
I am too. I'm ecstatic. I've got a lot of passion for this, and I can't think anymore about how this is not a good thing. This is such a great thing that you've come on tonight. Thank you. It's been my pleasure, honestly. So thank you again, and I hope that you continue to do well. And I encourage everybody who may be listening and who may listen to this afterwards to please go to the GoFundMe page that's set up for her. Please, if you'll consider donating, even if it's only $5, whatever you can and whatever you can afford to donate would really help go towards a great cause for Tess.
Yeah. And even if you can't donate, there's no pressure. If you can share, that helps too.
It does. I always say that, a share is sometimes worth more than some amounts of currency because it could have the potential of reaching somebody who can either donate or, in your case, donate money.
Right.
So thank you again. Have a terrific evening, and I wish you well with your endeavors that you have later.
Thank you. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
You too. Have a great night.
Thanks, Tess. Well, thank you everybody for coming on and listening to our show tonight. Again, it's been a great show. We've had some great stories, very unique stories. Adrian's a great co-host, and Tess, wow, what a very unique story. A very, very unique story. And I love Tess's personality. I love her positivity. I love her optimism. She has great goals. Very, very good person to hear from so that we can continue to be inspired. Because this is exactly what we need to do, is we need to be inspiring kidney warriors. We need to make sure that everybody knows that they're not alone, okay? Because we all can be united. We all can come together, and we can all be a united front against this kidney disease. And I'm so excited that we've been able to do that tonight. I'm excited to continue to do this for other kidney warriors. I'm going to do this till there isn't air in my lungs, and I'm going to do this till the day I die. But thanks for allowing me to be your host tonight. Have a great evening, and I'll talk to you later.